Hey everybody, I'm Bill Harvey with the Auto Sales Academy and welcome. Today I want to share with you closing and specifically my closing aberration. Now aberration, if you don't know what that word is, it's just a very fancy word for change or difference or departure from the normal. And the reason why I think it's so important that we rename closing is that closing has been coined a verb. Closing it is certainly a verb to close a door if you're going to use it in that context, but to close the sale, closing is really the finalization of everything that we have put together. So the reason why I think it's so important that we explore this aberration that is happening right now in the automobile sales world, and specifically when we're talking to shoppers that are acting more traditional, like I'm talking about pre-inventory shortage, pre-pandemic levels, 2019 and earlier, we're getting those individuals that are coming in and saying, I'm not buying, I'm just shopping around, I'm just looking, don't waste your time on me. Even though you would not in a million years, and I certainly hope you would never in a million years, and that's an exaggeration, but try to close them at that point when they've said, I'm not buying, I'm just shopping, I'm not interested in hearing what you have to say. The aberration is that that individual has thought about buying for a long period of time. They've gone through the buying process of thinking, talking, research, touch and feel the car or the truck, SUV or minivan in a non-confrontational setting. And now they're here to have a look at what we have on the lot. And really what they're looking for is a salesperson they can believe and trust. Where you can be so much more effective in your closing. Like I'm talking about closing 8 out of 10 shoppers. And if you think that's an exaggeration, if you think that is not possible, if you think, here's the trainer just puking data and information and trying to clickbait me into buying his product, look at your high achiever. Look at the individuals that are on the leaderboard all the time. And you're going to make up an excuse that, well, they've been here forever. They've got lots of clients. And that may be true. But that's just a rationalization for your lack of ability to recognize the telltale signs that that individual can be closed. So what I'm really talking about in the aberration is my OBP methodology. And the OBP methodology simply refines and helps a shopper arrive at the conclusion that they set out here to do today. You can think of yourself as a transformationalist. Why don't you take that off your business card and instead of having sales consultant, which we all have, you could have transportation consultant. Wow. Especially if you belong to a dealer group, you can sell other brands and trim levels of those other brands, even though you don't represent them. And the reality is you won't, because you know how difficult it is to just know your own product knowledge, let alone theirs. The closing aberration is the transformation from their old car to the new car. And what speaks volumes is that they've called you on the phone to find out if you have the inventory, and secondly, what's your best price. They have emailed in for do you have it and what's the best price. Or they've walked into the showroom. Now they're standing in front of you. Let's assume they're not even in the showroom. They're out on the lot. And so you walk in because it's a gorgeous, beautiful day as it is right now in the Northern Hemisphere. And we're coming off of that dreary, cold, wet weather that's so traditional spring and a Mickey Mouse winter, right? At least if you live close to where I am, where we didn't get the big snow loads for snowmobiling and all the rest of it. And I digress. My apologies. I didn't mean to go down that tangent because you want to know about closing and I get it. I get it. The reason why closing is a focus of so much of what we do is that if you look at the people that you've sold to before, and especially the ones that you love the most, and Anthony Robbins would speak eloquently about this by saying, look, I can coach you to success with no trouble at all. Take me back to a situation in automobile sales that you absolutely loved what you were doing and you're doing a great job. Like, what has happened with one customer recently, and you'll probably pick that lay down. That individual that came in and was absolutely perfect customer, and you could put it together in less than 60 minutes, and they never box squawked or whined about the pricing, and every time you asked for a yes, you got it as though you knew the answer to your question. That's the aberration. When you ask questions that you know the answer to. And more importantly, a lot of speakers, trainers, and pseudo teachers and coaches and pseudo trainers have always said, never ask a question you don't know the answer to. But what they're leaving out is, never ask a question that you don't know the answer to, how to handle the answer that they have just given you. And this is where my OBP methodology really kicks in, because when you give the client at any step of the process, and remember where we are in the 8 steps of the sale, right? We've done a great greeting. If that is the case, I'm going to assume you're down here at the purchase consultation. You've done a great greeting. We've done an interview. We've selected the right vehicle. We've given them a product presentation, the selective product presentation, not a data dump and puking information. We've taken them out on a demonstration drive. Maybe we've evaluated their automobile, and it's the purchase consultation. We're closing this up. It's a consultation. It's not closing. You close it when you ask for their signature on the bottom line. That's actually closing. However, in order to get to that point, you need to be doing something. And so we can't call it negotiation where we're just asking for their commitment at the interview. So this is the vehicle you'd like to go to. Yes, you're actually closing them. And this is where the overview really kicks in. What I would like to do. And then you've got to get their permission, but you can't have their permission until you've given them a benefit. So what I'd like to do is show you the perfect vehicle. The advantage of that is, and let's assume, let me go back to the greeting and the interview. And we're in closing. This is the aberration. This is the change. This is the difference. This is what nobody else is doing out there. This is what will get you 8 out of 10 sales. When you say in the interview, what I'd like to do is, the benefit for you will be, and if it's all right with you, may I do so? That is so simple and easy to do. And how it came about for me was that 1 month, maybe you've heard my story before, that 1 month where I didn't sell anything. Fresh out of university, huge student debt to pay. My dream of being an automobile salesman, manager, and eventually owner. And here I am, middle of the winter, beginning in sales, have had some training that was bad, and here I was, rock bottom, doubting myself, imposter syndrome, thinking there must be a better way out there. And I just realized, watching the high performer, everyone that he talked to was like talking to a buddy. There was no, hey, how are you? And let's try and figure each other out. There was no, isn't it a beautiful day outside? Oh, it's raining. Now I understand why you're in here. Or it's snowing. Let me show you what I have on the computer so that we can move forward. There was no question like that ever, albeit those questions aren't bad. They do qualify, right? And it gets down to brass tacks and we know where we're going to go. But every conversation he had was spot on. What I'd like to do is show you what just arrived. What I'd like to do is show you our best deal. What I'd like to do is show you how you can get into a newer automobile that is shiny, faster, more fuel efficient with the latest and greatest technology and a fully protected payment. Now, the benefit to you is that you have all the information you need to be able to go home and sleep on it, think about it, or in the event that you've already come all the way to it and you believe that I found you the perfect vehicle and it's affordable, let me show you our most affordable ways to own a vehicle. You can go ahead and request that it be delivered this afternoon, tonight, tomorrow, the next day. All that dialogue, all that questioning was closing the sale as soon as he met them, on the phone or face to face. And I'm sure if I went to Larry Martin right now, who was the high performer in the store that I started at, I'm sure he is selling the very same way on email. He is still the epitome, in my opinion, of a great salesperson and still leader of the board. Magnificent, huge portfolio. And you know why? Because of his closing aberration. His closing isn't left to the very end. I would go out and I'd do this incredible presentation on the automobile. I love cars, have always and forever. That's why I went to car school. That's why I wanted to be a car salesman. This is my dream job. I did become a dealer principal of a Chrysler facility. I absolutely loved it. And then I started writing material for my sales team because I'd been through the steps. But going back to the beginning, I would go out and do these amazing presentations. In fact, I did such great presentations. I loved the product so much, and I knew so much about the competitors. It's what landed me the job at Mercedes-Benz as their national sales training manager. But I wasn't a great closer in the very beginning. In fact, I was a really bad closer. In fact, it was years later as a speaker on tour, and somebody said, you know what, Bill, you're just like that guy. I was doing a piece on negotiate and closing. He said, you're just like that guy on Glengarry Glen Ross. Now, I am not dating myself because I'm not that old. Glengarry Glen Ross was before my time, but I had to go and look at it. And at that time, we just couldn't look it up on Netflix instantly and watch the piece. So I had the video. Somebody had loaned it to me. And I found the piece on Always Be Closing. And I was like, wow. That is my OBP methodology. That from the very beginning, we want to be getting the commitment from the client that they're ready to move forward. Because if you do an amazing interview, like you find out their name, their email address, and their telephone number, and you tell them the automobile that they're going to go to, and you find out the automobile that they're driving, they're ready to trade it in, and you've got the monthly payment and a rough idea how many payments are left, and you tell them about the new car that they could go to that is affordable compared to what they've already been paying, and you say, would you like to see it? You take them out and you give them this amazing 60 point feature benefit presentation, and then out on the roadway for a demonstration drive. And then when you're appraising their car, they go, well, no, we wouldn't buy because we had no intention of buying right now because we don't even live around here. We're vacationing, we're visiting, we're passing through for whatever reason. And because we're experiencing this traditional shopper. Remember, that's what I opened this whole dialogue and dissertation about. We're seeing that traditional shopper coming in right now because COVID is becoming a distant memory. The pandemic and lockdown all becoming a distant memory as we experience what we knew before, the freedom and flexibility of traveling around, being so magnificent and wonderful. We could be getting people that are visiting friends, family, relatives that they haven't seen in a year, 2, 3, 4 years possibly, and they've got nothing better to do, and they see your shiny new, technologically advanced with better fuel economy, maybe an electrification strategy in that automobile too that has a full factory warranty. And they're thinking to themselves, you know what, when we get back home, after we've made this long drive, maybe we should. And you've just met them, do this perfect 8 steps to the sale presentation, and you can't close them at the end because it's simple. In the very beginning, you're not leveraging the commitment strategy. And the commitment strategy is my OBP methodology. So the closing aberration is not so much about what you know, but it's about how much you know they are ready to commit. You'll hear some of the most eloquent marketers and sales trainers, for that matter. Jordan Belfort says, nobody's going to buy from you. Nobody's going to care about you until they understand how much you care about them. That's where the high performer in your dealership really crushes it in sales, because their buyers understand that he or she cares as much about them getting a great deal as they care about getting a great deal. and then leverages that commitment strategy to ensure that the great deal happens. Closing isn't as difficult as what we think it is. Negotiation is a completely separate entity, and I'll cover negotiation next week. So please be sure to join me on one of these lives for that, because there are some negotiation strategies. Last week I covered off, and feel free to scroll down and have a look at those trade-in practices and negotiating a better trade value, or at the very least, rationalizing and justifying through science and math. This is how we arrive at that number, which is closing. But it's more of a negotiation tactic than it is finalizing the sale. Because how many customers say, you know what, that makes a ton of sense, but I am just not going to let my car go for that. Now we need to move over to the commitment strategy. If we could come up with a price that would really make you happy, can we do business now, tomorrow, the next day, and so on? And of course, I don't like that talk track. I'll be completely candid with you. I wouldn't read it to a customer like that, but that's the theory that goes along. And this is the closing aberration. When we look at the closing tactics, the strategy that has been shared with us in the past, what would it take during your business right now? That's a great concept. That's a terrible closing line. Because you know what a customer's going to do? They're going to tell you what it'll take during their business. I want it for this much, and I want this thrown in, and this thrown in, and I want it yesterday, and I don't want to hear no, that my credit wouldn't support it. That's what happens when we ask a question that we don't know the answer and have the solution to. And that's what I believe, that we've been taught so many bad tactics, that this closing aberration is so necessary. Now, this is all part of the six-figure manifesto. And if you're not familiar with the six-figure manifesto, leave a comment below that you'd like to know more about it, and I'd be happy to share that with you. If you want to call me, feel free to do so. That's 705-350-0811. That's 705-350-0811. I'm happy to talk to you. If I can pick up the phone, I will. Otherwise, please leave me a message. I will return your call. You can text me on that number. What is the manifesto all about? What is the aberration all about? What is this one system in 9 steps? That is the pitch, and yes, I do have that, and there's the purpose for me sharing this with you, that hopefully one day you're going to say, Bill, I want to know more about it. Let's dive into it. Let me bring it back to what I promised you in the very beginning, free training to this day, so that you can take away some tactics that are bundled up nice and tidy and nestled right together, collectively working as one, which is called a strategy. If no one has ever shared that with you, a strategy is the perfect alignment of tactics that work together, because there's a lot of tactics that don't work together. And that would be a bad strategy. A good strategy is one that is aligned. So in the closing aberration, what you need to do is just like that famous movie, Glengarry Glen Ross, you always need to be asking the questions leading to the finalization of this shopping experience. Simple as that. It's not about finalization of the paperwork. It's not about finalization of this visit. It's not about finalization of shopping. It's the commitment that the shopper is prepared to finalize their shopping experience to become a buyer. And that's why I always say to everybody, all of you, it's the transformation from here, where they are, to where they want to be, is what we do. And I don't think you've had that kind of training before, because I don't see anybody doing it at all other than me. And when I had that visual, that physical metaphor of a bridge, all of a sudden, my closing skills got easier and super effective. So then I get labeled the guy that was lucky in the store, that I would find the individuals that were ready to buy. Hey, look, it was as simple as this. One of the other high performers of the store that I used to work at would stand at the front door on a Saturday, when Saturdays were big, especially in the spring and the summertime, and it was his turn to take a prospect, and he'd be like, nope, you go ahead. Nope, you go ahead. Nope, you go ahead. Nope, you go ahead. And then, just as I think, he's going to say, yeah, go ahead, Billy. And this isn't the manager. This isn't handing out ups. This is the salesperson himself in his rotation, waiting for his opportunity to go out. Just as I think I'm going to walk out and be able to get there because he's going to say, yeah, you go and look after him. He'd go, step aside. And he'd walk out. And I was always floored because 15 minutes, an hour and a half later, he's laughing and congratulating them, and he's finalizing the paperwork, and the sales manager's laughing, and he's shaking his head, and the business manager can't wait to meet their client. And I'm like, how does he do that? How does he just stand there and pick them off? Moments later, they're in his office saying yes. Until I listened to what he was doing. Lord gave us 2 ears, one mouth. We do a whole lot more talking than we do listening. And listen to what he was saying. And every step of the way, it was, what do you think of this? How do you like that? Does this make sense? Would you like to go with? Can I explain this a little bit further? You look like you're not entirely sure. He would say that. You look like you're not entirely sure. And he'd make them say, yeah, I'm really not sure. Or, yeah, I'm really sure. Absolutely, I like it. It's just, I thought of something for a second there and brain fart, that kind of thing that happens to us all the time. I was absolutely flabbergasted, amazed at his uncanny ability to get out, to extrapolate, to pull, to make them say, yeah, I want to do this. I want to go for it. And you can think of it as classic selling strategy, a pull strategy to you, as opposed to always pushing your deal on everybody else. Hey, look, unquestionably, when they email, call, or walk into the showroom, we've leveraged a pull strategy. The majority of your business is pull strategy. When you start working the other opportunity buckets that I talk about in step 8, the blueprint specifically, that's where you're using a bit of a push strategy, but it's a push strategy that reels them right in. So it's still a pull. There is really no cold up or cold client that we talk to. And in most parts of the Western world that I know of, it's illegal to go door-to-door knocking, not that I would ever recommend that you do, or cold calling right out of the phone book. And I tried that, and it was horrible and demoralizing. So I would never encourage you to do so, not to mention where I live, it is illegal. And I just don't think you need to do it. But the bottom line is, when we get these prospects that have made a conscious decision to shop for an automobile, and we get the commitment, the unquestionable commitment in our mind that they're going to go with it, then closing is really easy. And the most important thing to recognize, and I really want you to get this in terms of the aberration, is that closing isn't controlling. When you follow my customer focus approach, and again, this is part of the 6-figure manifesto, and of course, if you want to know more about that, leave me a comment below, or call me, or text me at 705-350-0811. Tell me what you're struggling with as well. You don't even have to ask, what's the program about? I'd be happy to talk to you about the objections and the challenges that you're experiencing right now, because I believe we're going through an aberration of customers too. They are changing their shopping practices. They've taken a breather, they stepped back, and we're not getting the exact same talk tracks that we had before. But the theory, the fundamentals of objections are still there. Anyhow, I digress. Let's go back to control. Closing is not controlling. And so many times, let me ask you this. How many times, as in so many times, but how many times have you been told, control your customer? Or, hey, how about this one? You don't have any control of your customer. Or even better, you must maintain control of your customer. Let me tell you this. The closing aberration is not about controlling the customer, because you never had control. You never will have control of the customer. The only thing you have control of is you. And you are in control of the sales process. The sales process, the 8 steps of the sale. Second step in the first phase of the 6-figure manifesto. Here's the thing. When you attempt to exert control on your customer based on the vehicle that they want, or the payment that they want, or the features that they want, don't you find that they go, well, let me think about it. Or I'm not really sure. And then we have to bring in Ninja the super closer to put this deal together, and they wind up buying a totally different vehicle because the deal is so great on that one. The gross is probably so weak, you're going to get $100, $75 flat. I hope you've got a better flat than that. But you see how when you try to control them, your process goes out the window, and now the customer's in control. That is not being customer focused when you try to control it. And certainly not customer focused when they take control of the deal and the process. Don't let that happen. Here's the easiest and fastest push just before I wrap this all up, so you've got another tactic to leverage out there. You don't exert control when you offer choices. When the customer has choices to make, they feel in control. Control just evaporates. You think customers know that we're trying to take control of them? Absolutely, unquestionably. It's easy. Hey, what would it take to earn your business today? Oh my gosh, doesn't that slap you right in the face on trying to take control of them to get what you want? That's being dealer-centric. That's being salesman-centric. That's commission breath, and it stinks. Your breath stinks when you do that. Don't do that. It's as simple as this. There's no need to exert that high level of control. All you simply do is ask some questions. Would you like this one, or that one? The options you create, the options you choose create the difference. If we're talking about a monthly payment or a gross payment figure, I don't know why you'd be on a gross payment figure. That's the first place I would start. A bi-weekly is the only thing that you'd ever be quoting and talking and negotiating with. But let's say, for instance, they say that price is way too much for that vehicle. No problem at all. I get it. However, the options you choose create the difference. Let me show you. So you could take them to a model down that doesn't have those features that they supposedly like smart cruise control. Oh, that's amazing. That's terrific. That's incredible. But they just said that truck, that Denali truck, is just insane price. I get it. You don't have to agree with them and say, yeah, it is. Oh my gosh. But you can say, I get it. However, the options you choose create the difference. So smart cruise control isn't something critical on your list, and you don't need the Denali trim level, and we can get under the six-figure mark in Canada or away from being close to the six-figure mark in the US, and you can get what you want. This is the closing aberration. Knowing the answers to your question, offering choices, being customer focused, avoiding your commission breath, and stop using those goofy lines that are actually a method. They're not, in fact, closing lines. However, when you leverage those method tactics in conjunction with other tactics leading up to the sale, then it is a strategy, and yes, it will work. But if you just blurt it out, just puke it out or throw it out on the desk, as I would say, yeah, don't expect the customer to say yes. Look, I hope you've really enjoyed this. My name is Bill Harvey with the Auto Sales Academy, part of the Auto Dealership Academy. Feel free to look up the Auto Dealership Academy on the web at autodealershipacademy.com. And you can find out more about the Six-Figure Manifesto. And if you want to know more about the Six-Figure Manifesto, don't even go to those links. Just text in below. Hey, I want to know more about the Manifesto, Bill. I'll send you the information. Let's hop on a call. Let me tell you all about it. If you will give me the opportunity to give you a full demonstration, I'd be happy to do that free of charge. Again, I hope you thoroughly enjoyed these sessions. Stay tuned next week for negotiation, mastering negotiation. I'll share with you a bunch of tactics, how to get over the I want to think about it, because that one is timeless, never going away. And of course, how to leverage some of the worksheets that we utilize in order to get there. Have a wonderful day and an amazing week, and I really hope that May is off to a fantastic start for you. If you're not at 6 cars by this point in the month, at least at 5 cars, at the very bare minimum, 4 vehicles sold and delivered at this point in the month, you're going to make the month really difficult for yourself to get into those double digits. If you're already on your way to double digits and you're at 8 and you think 20 is outlandish, ridiculous, out of control, message me. I'm happy to show you. When you get your flywheel spinning and you get over that double-digit hurdle of 10, the flywheel just continues to spin and it gets easier. 10 becomes 15, 15 becomes 23, 23 becomes 31, and 31 can become 55. Really, it's a flywheel momentum of doing what works, not trying everything. Again, my name is Bill Harvey with the Auto Sales Academy. I hope you thoroughly enjoyed this. I look forward to seeing you again next week. Talk to you later. Bye-bye for now.